Sonic Talk.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sonic Talk episode 604. This is the post-NAMM 2020. In fact, the second episode of 2020. Because what with Christmas and the way that NAMM fell, I was actually travelling back from NAMM, which was from the 16th to the 18th. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago. In fact, our flight back was delayed. There was a problem with the plane. And we were held for 4 hours and 15 minutes. We were late, which could have been so much worse if we were already on the plane. But actually, it happened before we got on the plane. So we got drinks and food vouchers and just hung out in the lounge, which, you know, it's better than being on the plane with no air conditioning. That's for sure. Yeah. So anyway, NAMM last year. This is the Sonic Talk podcast. So I'm out of whack. I haven't quite got my Sonic Talk head on yet. But yes, this is Sonic Talk. This is a podcast to do with music technology. For those who don't know, NAMM show was last week in Anaheim, California. Massive show. We've just back. We've got all our videos up. Over 100 videos shot. Lots and lots, countless news items. Lots and lots of content from there. And I'm joined by my guests for this week, all of whom happen to be there. So let's start with Miss Tori Letzler, who's there, ToriLetzler.com. She's a media composer, singer, session singer, composer, all kinds of stuff, producer, and she's at a studio. Are you in Marina Del Rey? Is that where you are?
No, this studio's in Santa Monica.
Okay. All right, we didn't make it that far. We were hoping to come and visit, but it was just not possible. We did get to bump into you. I had a brief and moving meet. You were on the Artifon stand, weren't you?
Yeah, I was either right before or after I demoed for phone. And the lovely Matt Lang was standing over there as well. So it was fun.
Yeah, it was
I
good.
demoed the Orba that we talked about.
That's right. Yeah, I had a look at that. It does look very promising, that, in terms of potential for professional stuff, but maybe we can get onto that a little bit later. I've also got Mr. Robbie Bronnimann there, who's, I think, may not have got away with without getting sick after NAMM. So I heard a sort of surreptitious nose blow there.
No, I haven't actually. I out of all the people I was with, I think I was one of the lucky ones. I escaped without anything.
Oh, well, that's good. Anyway, Robbie Bronnimann, of course, also media composer, producer, live performer, all of those things. We did actually, I saw you briefly. I must have spent about 10 minutes talking to you at NAMM, which is, how many days did you go for?
I went for the whole thing because I went over to hang out with BT. So, so we were busy doing stuff while we're over there, and I'm talking about projects and stuff. So, yeah, I was there every day on and off.
Oh, wow. Okay, it's quite a commute. Were you staying locally, or did you have to come?
Yes, locally, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Well, anyway, Robbie, lovely to have you on. And, of course, we also have Mr. Matt Hodson, Maths, at Maths, who is an educator, modular electronic music artist and performer and all of those things. And NAMM, until this year, a NAMM virgin, if that's not too non-politically correct phrase to use.
Yeah, we can have that. It was my first year, and it was great hanging around with you guys. And for all you listeners out there, just so you know, these Sonicstate crew work tremendously hard. I got to hang out with all the crew backstage, and the amount of work that they're doing behind the scenes, getting these videos uploaded, interviewing people, editing, it's phenomenal. So well done, Nick and team. And for all the videos you put out, it's just absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Well,
just sort of say well done.
It's the team. It's the team. Yeah, the team functioned particularly well this year. I want to say thanks to Rob, who you may have seen on early ones of our guitar videos. He did a few reviews, and he's just technically really clued up. So he runs all of the kind of equipment and essentially kind of makes sure that all the videos get done. And he's got a really good workflow. Although he does end up sitting at that desk for kind of 5 days pretty much. Although he did get out and film a couple of things and go and try. In fact, he was responsible for the Boss Waza Air getting the Best New Technology Award, because he just said it's amazing. It sounds amazing. I'll have to go and try it out. And he went and tried it out and goes, dude, that's amazing. You've got to give it an award of some sort. So we did. But yes, so that's kind of, but yes, thank you so much to the team. There was obviously Gaz was there, Andy was there, Ed was there. There was Jim, Ear Monkey Music, who's in the chat room as well. He did the sounds only videos. There was also Mira, who was there. Have I forgotten anybody? Don't think I have. There were 7 of us total. And
Ed.
actually, Yeah, I mentioned Ed, and of course Matt was a sort of honorary member of the media team because he couldn't get his pass sorted out for the last minute plans. So he got to hang out in the Palatial Media Centre, which is basically a series of desks under an escalator. But this year, we have to say, there was no band at the other side of the divider, which made such a huge difference. If you imagine, not for us, but imagine the person who's sitting there editing for 5 days with a load of bands playing like just the other side of a slim partition wall. That can kind of drive you a little bit crazy after a while. And so Rob was, I think that's part of the reason he was so on fire, because he wasn't having to put up with all of that stuff. But yeah, all of that's out of the way. I mean, thanks to the sponsors and all of those things, don't make it possible. So, okay, right. Well, I'm curious. Well, let's go to you, Matt, first, because you're your first time NAMM. What overall impressions and kind of perhaps a couple of highlights from you? What was your general impression of the show?
Yeah, overall impressions is make sure you go with a decent pack up and some food, because you might get lost like I did a few times. It's that big. Yeah, you definitely need a couple of days to get around. Prioritize what you're going to go see if you're a first time person going, because you prioritize what you want to see, because you might not get around it all, basically.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, you feel like you've been beaten up a little bit, because it's so full on with everything. But it's really great to meet the people behind the products. It's great to meet those people who have brought their visions to life, whether it's a synth, a guitar pedal, some crazy gadget or something like that, and to talk to them behind it, have a play with it and give them some initial feedback, and make those connections, basically. That's really great thing to do. I bumped into so many people that I've only communicated with over email over the past few years, and then it's something like, oh yeah, hi, how you doing? I did love it. I thought it was great. LA's amazing as well, and I managed to get up to Santa Monica as well, Tori. I really loved it up there. Could move there any day. If you know of any jobs going, let me know. And absolutely loved it. Do you want me to get into any particular products that I saw?
Maybe let's go. Let's hold off a sec, because we've got plenty of time, I suppose. We don't have to do it all in one go. So okay, well, I know, Rob. I'll come to you first, Robbie, because you've probably been going maybe longer than Tori. I don't know, and probably similar amount of time as me. I mean, in terms of comparisons with previous years, how did you feel? Was there a kind of difference? I mean, it was, what was that?
I mean, it was different for me, because I haven't been for about 4 or 5 years, and all the times I've been in the past, I've been presenting for either TC Electronic or Sonox or whatever in the past. So this was the first time I'd just gone out just to not be doing anything in that respect. So it kind of gives you a bit of a different perspective, because you're not standing in a booth all day, are you? But no, I mean, it was good. I mean, you know what it's like. Everybody kind of sees all the announcements on the internet before the show. So I was kind of expecting it to be kind of a bit like, sort of like, oh, there's nothing really interesting to see for the first time. But I was surprised there were quite a few things that we kind of stumbled upon. So yeah, I think it was it seemed as kind of buoyant as it ever did. So it seems to be, music technology is definitely not dying, is it?
No, and some people are sort of saying that shows that generally are kind of a dying breed, but NAMM seems to be bucking that trend for sure. I mean, I know, Tori, for me, with the new halls, I mean, it seems bigger than ever. I mean, it really felt bigger. There was very little dead space, and I think last year there was some, and this year there was hardly any. The
biggest difference for me between this year and last year was, is it Hall B/C, where like the main synth area is?
Yeah.
It just exploded this year as compared to last year. And I don't know what happened last year. I know some bigger companies are kind of taking NAMM and doing things off-site now, like Moog, as opposed to like, showing in the hall. But this year felt like it was very cool to me. I actually feel like I enjoyed myself more than I usually do. I was able to really walk around and mess around with things and visit with people from companies and not feel too overwhelmed, but also not feel like I was, gypped out of what I wanted to see. Because last year it just felt very sparse in that area, and I don't really know why.
Well, I've been... Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I think it's because the Superbooth effect. Lots of people went to Superbooth, and maybe for the first time the previous year, and then didn't have the budget for NAMM. But obviously, if the industry is generally doing okay, some of those people came back. But I think also it was to do with the scheduling of the booths. They brought everybody back together in a sort of more dense collection of synthness, whereas they tend to that there was a year where that didn't happen, and it was felt very disparate. And they brought the year before Super Booth, they really brought it all together in a very tight area, and it was massive and the heart of the show, and it had a feeling of that again, even though obviously there wasn't as much new stuff as to everybody, because a lot of it got pre-announced.
No, I totally agree. And I mean, sure, there wasn't a ton of new stuff, but I mean, there's so much, especially with modular, that I haven't played with in person yet. It's hard to all the time. So when I go to a place like that, it's like, going into a giant store, I can mess with all the things that I've been reading about for weeks on end. And it just felt enjoyable to me. I pretty much didn't leave that area except to go to one of the hotels. So I thought it was nice, and I didn't get sick.
Yeah, well, that's always a bonus, isn't it? I don't think any of our team got sick either. I mean, apart from the usual just feeling crappy, because you run down. I think we all managed to get away. I haven't spoken to Ed since, but I think he's done okay. So, that's great. But we managed to get to Seal Beach for a couple of days afterwards, which was very nice, because it's a little one-horse town with just one high street, at least the old part, and so you can just wander about, and there's just no music, no NAMMNESIA. It's almost gone as soon as you enter the. It was very, very nice, and you're really close to the ocean. Okay, so
so am I right in thinking then there was a little bit more of an explosion with the modular output there at the conference this year?
I think so, yeah,
along with all the synths, yeah.
I think there was.
That's what a few people said, yeah.
Which is good. I mean, it always keeps it going, keeps Ed busy as well. So, I mean, in terms of some of the stuff that I've got the I don't know if it's the big three, but what's this one?
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
So, yeah, Jupiter XM.
So Roland Booth and the big boy, right?
The big fella, Jupiter X. Very exciting.
So tell us about it. I mean, we've seen the XM. What's different? I mean, apart from size.
So basically, that is all that's pretty much different, because it's exactly the same engine in the Jupiter X that is in the Jupiter XM. The benefit, of course, is that we have our brand new 61-note keyboard with Aftertouch, which is the same keyboard that's in our brand new Phantom. Plus, we have a plethora of sliders, buttons, and knobs that look.
So there you have it. That was the XM, because that was trailed the release last year, but wasn't available. Now it's working, it's there, and it's part of the new Zencore thing with Roland, which Roland were pushing very hard. So you got the Phantom, new Phantom's got a Zencore engine, the Jupiter XM has got the Zencore engine, the X has got a Zencore engine, and so's that that Keytar, that's got a Zencore engine, which means they will all make the same sound. Which I'm questioning the wisdom of perhaps taking that approach, because it makes everything feel homogeneous, and what's special about any of it apart from the box they put in, which kind of I mean, I understand why, and I understand the connection there, because they're trying to join all the plug-in, all the online stuff, all the cloud stuff together, get you an account, subscribe, make it all kind of like interchangeable, and it makes, from a business point of view, it makes absolute sense. But from a sort of emotional point of view, I don't know how I feel about it. It feels a little bit kind of cold. I don't know. I heard you in agreement there, Robbie. It's funny. Did you get to play? I mean, it sounds fantastic in terms of punch and quality, but it's also quite generic.
Yeah, I stood there waiting for about half an hour to play it, because Matt Bellamy from Muse was kind of hogging it for a while. But yeah, what do I think about it? I've got a bit of a weird feeling about it, because we all hold the Jupiter 8 in such like sort of revered status, and with all the talk of like not pillaging the past and moving forward, I just find it weird, this still kind of dressing stuff up like things from the old when they're not from the old. So I almost wish there wasn't a product that didn't try and kind of give it that lineage. But I mean, it's a very powerful, when you look at the sum of the parts, it's a very powerful kind of set of tools you've got.
Yeah.
Again, it's a little bit weird having like a full V piano, stage piano on a 61-note plastic unweighted keyboard. I don't kind of see how that's particularly useful. But in terms of raw power, like you say, across the whole range, it's I can see why they're trying to kind of keep them consistent. And I guess it's going to be a really good workhorse for live people. to take out who don't want to have a big like 88 note kind of sort of motive phantom kind of thing. So I'm sure it's going to do well. It's quite pricey, isn't it?
It's about $2,500, which is interesting, which means you could buy a Jupiter XM and an 88 Mark II, which is 88 keys, for about the same price, which means you'd end up with more keys and they'd be better.
Yeah, more a flexible rig, yeah, it's nice actually, the 88 Mark II, because with Howard, I think we've got about 6 of those 88 Mark I's that we had for all our various different, our cases we had built with lighting inside, because they were like a really nice narrow 88 note keyboard. But we always kind of berated the fact there wasn't more hands-on control. So that new Mark II A88 looks kind of really, really hit the mark for that point of view.
Yeah, I know. Tori, do these kind of keyboards? I mean, I know in sound design world and media composing world, there's often like a trend, isn't there? It's like everybody had a Triton, everybody had this, everybody has the Spitfire library. There are certain things that kind of make it into that environment that everybody has because they're maybe a set of sounds. Do you think the Zen Core or the Jupiter X has the potential for that? Because there's also an element of, if you had one behind you, it would be photogenic and it would sort of be your muscle car that kind of somehow gave you credentials that why would you need that anyway? Do you know what I mean? It's like the photo op is almost part of it, right?
I hate that. I hate the photo op thing. And that sounds bad because I use a lot of social media, but like the biggest thing for us over here is we run out of space for large keyboards. We have a lot of the Roland boutique synths. And they're literally just like, I can't show you, but I have a drawer here that pulls out in the desk and they're in there all wired. You just pull them out, use them at will, and then push them back in. I'm sure it sounds great. I didn't have a chance to play it. I kind of got stuck in one little area. That being said, like, I just don't need another large keyboard. I would love if they, came up with something that's smaller. Anytime that I can get a desktop option or something that has the same power but without the giant key bed that I don't have a use for, I would love that. But I think, to what Robbie said, I think for live it'll probably be fantastic. I'm sure it sounds great. But for me, it doesn't serve too much of a purpose. Would I say no to having one? Not, I wouldn't. But I don't know. It's not something that, out of what I saw this year, it's not the most exciting.
That's true. I hesitated to come to you, Matt, because I know, the big keyboard instruments are not your kind of thing so much. But I mean, the whole concept of the Zen Core kind of being this, it's almost, it's almost like the way that they get when they develop, any synth company develops a new synthesis technology and they then roll it out to a number of things and you get different versions of it. This just seems like almost kind of distilling it down to almost a kind of cynical repurposing of that. I don't know. It feels a bit.
Yeah, it's
not very. Where's the magic?
It is. I guess I've been trying to think. Is this them testing the waters? Is this Roland testing the waters for something else? Are they bringing something in here to try something out? No. If that's not the case, then I don't know what's going on with it. Because I have to agree, unless I was playing live and I needed to throw up a preset on the keyboard that I'm using that I built in the studio on another keyboard that I can't bring out live with me, then happy days. If it was some sort of testing the water for something further down the line that as a product they might bring in somehow, this new technology of sharing patches and that kind of thing, then that's quite interesting. But sounds like not.
That raises a point about, like, Robbie, I mean, if the Phantom's got the same sound engine, it's roughly the same price. It's a little bit more expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean...
So do you get the Phantom or do you get the Jupiter X?
Well, like you say, it'd be much more flexible to have like an A88, be able to put something like that above it and hook into it for like the piano side of things and still be able to use the synth side of things. I think Tori brings up a good point, though, because I'm in the same situation. I've got, my studio is like... pretty compact, and actually the reason I'm not in there today is because it's an absolute disarray, because I just bought a Behringer D, the Model D, the Pro One, the all of them, all those little desktop units and the Hydrasynth desktop, and I decided to try and 4 SQ1 sequencers and I decided to try and hook it all up last night, and I've caused total mayhem, and it just looks like a bomb site, which is why I'm upstairs. But I haven't got room. I haven't got room for anything with a keyboard. Like the last keyboard I bought was the Waldorf Quantum last year, and that was like the last space I had, and it was like it has to be something really special to warrant using up this space. So I'm kind of like, it's nice to see a trend. I said the show with things like the modal, with the Argon coming out as a nice tiny little desktop, really great, and the Hydra synth coming out as a desktop, because it means, you can get a lot more synths, like Tori says, like tucked away in drawers and things, instead of having endless keyboards looking like Rick Wakeman in your studio. So
yeah, that's a fair point. Well, we can revisit this again, but we still got a couple of messages from our friends. We'll start with our friends over at Splice, because
find the perfect kick synth preset.
Here's what they've
MIDI
got.
Melody on Splice, plus millions of other royalty-free one-shots and loops, with more added daily. Zero in on the perfect sound, filtered by tags like genre, BPM, key, and instrument. Or search for something else like a feeling or a mood. Browse, search, and preview all your sounds right from the Splice desktop app, and seamlessly drag and drop them directly into your DAW. Your sounds and presets are available everywhere you make music. Keep them forever, no matter what.
And of course, Splice are offering 30-day free trial. Actually, it's normally only 14, but you can get a 30-day free trial of their 100 credits per month plan, which is essentially you get 100 free sounds. As we know, a lot of services like Splice are really ballooning in terms of just making it really easy to grab stuff. You use the code Sonicstate100, and the URL I'll put in the show notes, because I'm never going to read it right because it's upper and lowercase and a mixture of numbers, but it's a specific URL. It showed up in the video, but I'll stick it also in the show notes, and check that out. And we thank them for their support of the Sonic Talk. Thank you very much. So, okay, well, okay, Tori, what was the highlight for you then? Was there a kind of moment where you go, oh wow, that's something I didn't expect, or something that you thought was going to be maybe a bit meh and was really good?
A couple of things. I know it's not super new, but I finally got to try out the Hydra synth, and
told you.
Really, really loved it. I got to actually. And actually, on the inverse of me saying I don't like keyboards, for that one, because the keyboard version comes with the pitch, the strip, that was exciting to me. I don't know if I end up getting one, if I'll get the desktop version or the keyboard with the strip. But I sat there for a while, and I thought it sounded just as good as I was hoping. In terms of modules, Make Noise, it's not actually out yet, but they had one on the floor. And I'm going to totally botch this name. I apologize. It's the Desmodos. It's their reverb that's coming out. It's like a black module, and it's got a little bat on the front, because they're giving some of their proceeds to like bat conservation. And I love when companies do stuff like that.
There should be a tie-in with me for that, surely. I don't know why they haven't been in touch. Good grief. Okay, we didn't see that. I was just looking for that. That's one we didn't get, which is a bit disappointing. But you can't get everything.
I want it very much when it comes out. I have a lot of their stuff, and I like it a lot. I don't know when. I asked them multiple times when it's coming out, and they were like, oh, sometime this year. Great.
Okay. A lot of that going on.
What else did I finally got to, so we talked about the Orba on the show from Artiphone, and I was skeptical about it. And then they got in contact with me and said, well, why don't you come test it out when you're at the show? And I did a little demo with it, and only as a controller. I didn't get to test out the synth engine that's in it. It wasn't ready. But used it as a controller. I built a track live. Yeah. You know what? I was really pleasantly surprised. And I'm not just saying that because I went and did the demo. I went in with low expectations and came out very happy. So I think for someone who travels on the road, especially if you're like an EDM producer and you want a really easy controller that you can assign to different things, it's also velocity sensitive, which I didn't know when we were talking last time, and I was filled in about. So that was the inexpensive, surprising thing of the day. I went by Dave Smith, and that was great as usual. But again, another keyboard, and trying to think what else. I tried to go to play with the ARP 2600, and there was like a 30-minute line.
Forget that. And anyway, what's the point? You're never going to be able to buy one. They've sold out doubly already, so...
See, but I'm wondering, it says FS on it for full size. And I feel like maybe we're going to get a smaller one, or I'm hoping we're going to get a
Maybe we
smaller
will.
one.
And of course, there's the Behringer one. I mean, Behringer also sort of hijacked the show a little bit by putting videos up with the NAMM 2020 title, which is a bit cheeky. But I mean, you know, they do what they do, and that's fine. And that looks kind of interesting. But that's the one that's with the mod with all the kind of LEDs on the top. But I don't think it's got the speakers or the spring. But we don't know what the final price of that is going to be. So I'm not sure. But yeah, I take your point. Matt, what about you? What was your kind of your big kind of wow moment, if you had one, or moments?
Yeah, well, it was great to play on the Super 6 by Udo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, man, just what a synth. I mean, it is so great. It's so playable, and when you're there with the team and the developers, and you're watching them play with it, how they can go from sounds so radically with just a few dials. It's so versatile, so well thought out, sounds so fantastic. Low end in it is fantastic, not just for pads, but you know, for bass lines and all sorts of stuff. I got a chance to really dig in a little bit and play with some of the modulation on it. You know, playing around with things like modulating the decay time using an LFO and that kind of thing. It breathes. It's vibey. You know, I'm always on about vibey stuff in a studio. It's a vibey, playable, performative synth. Sounds great.
Interesting, and it has a keyboard, which is not usually your bag, is it? So that's saying something.
It's got me. So yeah, there we go. What can I say?
It's turned him.
It's turned me. The black and white keys are coming. The noise engineering modules, I really like those. The new ones that they had on offer. There's a really tasty filter which has got a distortion on it. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the names of the modules because they're just bizarre. But absolutely love them.
I think I've got the video.
Have you got it there? Yeah.
I've got the video of
an oscillator. There's a filter. I think there's a MIDI CV.
Oh yeah, did I say make noise? I meant noise engineering.
Yeah, I think that's what somebody said. Okay, so it was one of those.
I always.
Yeah, well,
that was what was the confusing.
It's poor branding. It's not your fault. It's their fault.
There's so much noise.
I totally know what you mean, Tori. That reverb that they had, I got to play with that. Because I spent a bit of time with them. I was like, right, okay, I want to. What I tend to do here a lot is I send reverbs into distortions and in stereo, and I love that sort of thing. And then maybe even into another distortion again, just for good measure. And I was like, come on then, let's do it on yours. So we got a stereo oscillator and we pumped that into that new reverb, which it is really good. And then we put it through stereo filter, and it was exactly the sort of sound that I was after. Loads of tweakability, totally noisy, FME, yeah. And then of course the ARP 2600, I got to have a little play on that, and happy days, really good. No chance of getting one though. It seems like they've sold them all out. So
they were only making 400 of that size. Yeah, they said, but they've got to be making a different size, and that is where Behringer's cunning comes into play, because they just went out with that and they've got one. You know, it's not ready yet, but it's going to be ready, and it won't have. I mean, I think the reverb and the speakers are part of the charm. I mean, not everybody's going to need that, but if you've
got a reverb on it, hasn't it? But it's just a digital emulation of the spring.
Okay, I got you. Okay, well. Yeah, it's interesting that there's something about the magic of it. It's a beautiful object, and people kind of say it costs too much money. It's like £3,200 or something, or $4,000. But you've got a case, and you've got the keyboard, which is also very versatile and has sequencing and MIDI and CV and stuff on it. So you're getting quite a lot for that. I don't think it's unreasonable. I mean, I'm getting a little bit tired of seeing that. I'll wait for the Behringer thing to come along, because sure, okay, well, great. I mean, if everyone's going to use that as an excuse, then it's like we're doomed, aren't we, really? I mean, some things are expensive for a reason, because they cost a lot to make, and that's the way it goes. But anyway, I don't know, Robbie, sorry.
I would say I'm so scared to say anything about Behringer on here again, because I got crucified last time. But it's a matter of I don't think it's that much for what it is. But if you want to pay for one versus the other, you're getting a different product at a different price point and a different point of quality. So if you can't afford the other one and you can't afford the Behringer version of whatever comes out, then more power to you. But you are getting a different type of product.
It is true. But what's clever about this is, you can't actually buy any more of those 2600s they make, so you won't get any choice. So it's perfect. You know, it's like, oh, limited edition. Don't worry, we've got a bunch here. Brilliant. You know, that's fine. I guess it's, you know, that's not a problem. So Robbie, what about for you? You were there for the whole time.
The Hydrasynth. I mean, that's why I got the desktop actually, because I've already got a Rise 49. So I've got all this. I can connect it up to do all the kind of. That was my thinking about getting a desktop version. But the show, I mean, the Super 6, I mean, funnily enough, I remember going to see the original prototype built in a wooden case by my friend down the road. You know, George showed me the original, and he, you know, everybody was laughing because everybody knows how much I hate wood, and the whole thing was just wood, wood with knobs on. It was like, he said, "This is my new synth," and I was like, It's a wooden Geppetto synth. But anyway, it's great to see that fully come into kind of, you know, to that kind of stage, because I've kind of seen it quite a few times along the way, and it's just so great how much of a quality product it is. You know, you move those sliders and everything, and it just feels like a really substantial, well-engineered synth, which is kind of unusual. You know, there's not many synths out there that are like that.
Well, I'd say the Hydra is.
The Hydra is another one.
For the
but
price,
I mean, what I'm saying is that, you know, we've had a long time of wobbly faders and lots of synths that are kind of a bit, you know, like that. And it's the only synth that's making me a little bit kind of wondering where I'm going to put it, because I do want to get one, and I literally don't know where I'm going to put one yet, but I do want to get that. So that was probably, although I've seen it quite a few times since before. I really do think that's it's a real tour de force, that synth, and it's going to become a real centerpiece for a lot of people's setup.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit more expensive than I'd like, you know, because I want them to sell a lot and do well, because George is a great guy. The team are fantastic. Yeah. And I understand, because his background is sort of medical engineering and Formula One engineering, which and sort of aviation quality stuff, which is why he's really kind of, you know, when you see him there, he's going, no, when he was here doing the shoot for us, he was taking synths that we had, and he was sort of feeling the quality of the faders and knowing what it was, or these switches, we looked at those, but we went for these other ones. It's all about the kind of tactile quality, and I think that vision is absolutely awesome, and I really hope that through the numbers they can make things that cost a little bit less, you know. I know I've been saying it's not everything has its cost, but you know, that just feels like that a little cheaper would help them out, you know, to a degree.
The funny thing was, I bumped into George down at Perfect Circuit, because there was like a synth thing down there. I saw the motor synth and all that kind of thing. But he was just going around all the synths in the shop trying them. And funnily enough, I said to him, "What do you like?" And he goes, "I really like that one. It's got a really good. The knobs are amazing."
Yeah.
So his criteria about how he was judging the sound, but he was also really judging. I don't like the printing on that one. You know, all of those things.
It's
really
an aesthetic,
important,
and I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I think that is.
But
definitely...
I think it's a reality check, isn't it? Because initially, I think he said that he was hoping they were going to build them all in Bristol, and then the reality of numbers involved, and you know, getting proper industrial design done by Axel Hartmann, and having all these bespoke components you want, it just suddenly mounts and mounts and mounts, and suddenly it becomes like a big entity, doesn't it? So
absolutely. Yeah. I agree. I mean, that's just the way it goes. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I think that there's still so much more. I mean, there's since. I mean, did we play this one? This is
Blake.
I don't know if you saw the Yamaha YC.
We're on.
I didn't see that.
I'm here.
Didn't see that.
Nick
that was over in the Yamaha
Sonicstate,
booth. I'll fast forward it a bit. He played some demos.
And that's sort of probably going.
It's a really good organ emulation, and it sort of takes that kind of rephase quality and the build quality. It's an expensive thing, but it's a real player. It feels like more of a player's thing than perhaps the Jupiter X, you know, even though some of those sounds have a commonality. You know, I'm sure the Jupiter X has got organs and, like you say, V piano and whatever. Same with the Yamaha. I'm
Is that
big
like
shout out
going up against a Nord?
I suppose, I suppose to a degree it's kind of going for that sort of thing. I don't know, Tori, I know you're, we should disclaimer you're a Yamaha artist. I mean, have you had your hands on the YC? Yeah. Is it?
I played with it when I went over to see the ridiculously large photo of my face that was over there.
I saw that.
It was very uncomfortable. Yeah, there was one right below that. And I did get to mess around with it. The unfortunate thing, this is nothing against Yamaha, that area was so loud when I went over there that even with headphones, it was like near impossible for me to hear. I would love another shot at being able to mess with it. But that being said, it is a really cool organ, and it does have synth aspects to it as well. I thought it was a cool instrument. It's not necessarily something I would use on a daily basis, but I mean, everything they make is good quality.
It certainly is. A funny story about that. I went over to film the YC, and Blake, they were being very accommodating. But at the time, Dom, who's one of the other demonstrators, they were setting up because the streaming guys, they were doing the live streaming, and they come over from Europe, and they were setting up all the presets and kind of getting the mixer set up. And we were looking around the other side of this wall, and we were like, okay, we need to plug this in. And he just unplugged something and plugged something else in. And the guys from the streaming setup came around and go, what happened? We just lost all the power, and we hadn't saved any of our presets. And I was like, oh my God. It wasn't me that pulled the plug, I'd like to say. It was like, oops, that was a big oops. What? They were very diplomatic. I heard that from Germany. I heard a Scheiße one, and that was it. There was no more. But yeah,
those guys are so nice too.
They're very, very good. Okay, well, let's just have a quick because we haven't had anything from our friends over at iZotope, and of course they're a big part of this show as well in terms of the competition. So you can win a full copy of
Building
Ozone
on a 17-year
9.
legacy in audio mastering,
Here's what they
Ozone
got
9
to say
brings
about it.
balance to your mix with never-before-seen processing for low-end, real-time instrument separation, and lightning-fast workflows powered by machine learning. Expect lower CPU usage and shorter startup times with Ozone 9 compared to Ozone 8. Experience fluid metering in a fully resizable environment that lets you track the most subtle details of your audio. Use more plugins at once, mix while you master without worrying about slowdowns or dropouts. And immerse yourself in a smooth, modern experience designed to keep you in your creative flow. As you can see, Ozone 9 is the fastest way to get your master off the ground. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out our other videos and head to iZotope.com to learn more about mixing and mastering and to download your free trial of Ozone 9.
Indeed you can. And of course we had a competition as we always do for them. Competition for this week is where you can win a full copy of Ozone 9 Advanced, which is the one with the extra metering, and also I think it's got all the sort of RMS stuff, which is really useful, particularly if you're doing YouTube stuff, because you can make sure you meet the exact requirements now that they're putting in. I must admit I haven't done that yet. Anyway, we're looking for the hashtag full power mixes and the hashtag Ozone 9 to @Sonicstate and @iZotope Inc. And that's a Twitter competition, so you need the hashtag full power mixes, that's one word, and the hashtag Ozone 9, the number 9, to @Sonicstate and @iZotope Inc. And we also have a winner from last week or last show, and this is a chap called Circuit 3. Would be great for the album I'm mixing, which is cool because I've checked him out actually. He's got check this out, very synthy and lots of bottom end on that. It's very kind of it's got a Newman-esque quality to it, so do check that out. It has Circuit 3, but anyway, if you want to get in touch, Circuit 3, you've got a copy of Ozone 9 Advanced coming your way. Okay, so, oh gosh, there were a lot of products here, and it's very hard to kind of figure out what to focus on. I mean, what else have I got in my list? Oh, say one thing that we did miss, we didn't get a chance to go and see modal. I reviewed the Argon 8 just before, which I could thoroughly recommend. It's a very good sounding instrument, actually. And one of my criticisms was not enough keys, or maybe a module version, and there they have, and they announced them. So I'd like to feel I had some sort of responsibility for that, but honestly, I had nothing to do with it. Yeah, it's a good one. Other stuff we missed. What else did we have? Gosh, I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, did we see this? This is the Korg thing. This is the Op6 that was just in a case. Yeah. Kind of everybody was kept stum about it. They said, "Oh no, we don't know anything about it." It's like, yeah, right. You know, of course you don't. Somebody actually had to put that in a case, but they were being very tight-lipped, and it's going to be out at Supermove. Looks like a fully featured FM synth, and I'm hoping it'll have at least the effects of the. Oops, I've got to stop that. The effects of the XD. I mean, I did that with XD, possibly more. That looks kind of cool, but they wouldn't say anything, so that's something to look out for. What else? I've got a massive list of videos here. Sorry.
Did you get, speaking of FM, did you get to try that Mega FM? That
No.
One that's got the Because I saw that after the show on a video, and I wish I'd got a chance to have a try of it.
I didn't get the chance to do that, actually. That was, unfortunately... I mean, the way it goes at the show now, we've got 3 video teams shooting, and I get to do some of them, but a lot of the time I'm going around doing the kind of flesh pressing and being the business guy as well. So I don't actually get to see a lot of this stuff, and I'm not editing all of the videos. So some of this stuff I'm discovering for myself. Nordwave 2, of course, that was one that came out. That looks kind of interesting with I think it's got a gig of RAM and you can drop your own samples in it, which also means that makes it a little bit more applicable for live players, because I know, like Robbie, you know, most keyboard players that are live, they need some sounds, but quite often they're triggering samples and triggering loops as well, that, you know, bits of the record that they can't. So that looks like a promising thing. I mean, kind of still expensive, but as a standalone thing. Sorry.
That's quite interesting. Lumatone. Did you get to play with that yourself, Nick?
I didn't.
Or anyone?
No, that's the microtonal keyboard, wasn't it? Let me see.
Yeah. Now, I know that's focused at microtonal playing, but I was also wondering if it goes into a mode whereby you could use it in a traditional way. So people like me who don't like black and white keys, you could maybe use that as your front end for composing. I was just wondering if it could do that, maybe.
This is
really
the
cool.
Lumatone isomorphic keyboard. Watch the video. I don't know if it's actually started yet, but
No, I haven't seen this yet.
Let's see.
Giant's Causeway with LEDs.
Yeah, unplayable unless you spend a lot of time. Yeah. 275 keys, microtonal programming, all of that kind of stuff. I mean, I could just imagine a keyboard rig of the future you've got one of those, you've got a Roly, you've got an Osmose, each one requiring completely different playing techniques and fingering techniques.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit confusing, I think, in this future that we're building for ourselves.
I'm
was
such
very
a
sad.
sucker for stuff like that.
Are you? How come? So,
Anything that looks like very cool and also does something different and like gets me out of my normal like sitting at a regular, like I have both of our desks have keyboards built into them. So like anytime I get to like, I think it's why I like modular so much. It just puts you out of your comfort zone and makes you like create differently. I don't know. I'm a real sucker for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know it's $4,000. This does that make any difference?
Oh.
And it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was speaking of controllers. I was sad the Osmose wasn't at the show. I rushed over to their booth to have a go on it, and they were like, "Oh no, it's gone to the factory, the only prototype." And I was like, "Oh no."
Yeah, well, I mean, they made a point. They made a point because, I mean, obviously that's the prototype. That's going to the factory for the comparison for the final build, and also it's getting a bit rough and trashed, or not trashed, you know, worn, I suppose. And they didn't really want to show it with that because it might make people think, oh, what's this all about? But I can totally recommend you. Yeah, you want to try that. It's astonishing. I
want it so badly. Yeah.
Did you pre-order? Did you jump?
I didn't know because I totally forgot about it till it was too late. But I've got the other one from them. I'll see what I can do later on in the year.
Okay, fair enough. So what else was there? I mean, there is. I'm looking for my NAMM page.
Also, just on controllers, Nick. Obviously, you were saying like in the future you got Roly, and then you've got this. What I've forgotten the name of it already. The Lumina, whatever it's called. But then we've also got things like that's the Illuminati. Then we've also got things like MPE, and then there was also MIDI 2.0.
Oh yes, big.
Well,
which actually, it was voted as it's now a thing. It was voted on Sunday. Yeah.
And I'm wondering, are manufacturers keeping all of this in mind as we're moving forward with controllers and keyboards, MIDI 2.0, MPE, what other kind of things that they need to be integrating and using?
Yeah, well, the A88 Mark II, it's MIDI 2.0 ready, which as far as I'm concerned is a bit like having a TV that's HD ready, which means it's actually 720, not 1080. You know, it's one of those things. I mean, yes, it will. I mean, I think what's going to happen with MIDI 2.0, I mean, all this capability is coming on board, but there's going to have to be a whole layer of new sort of logic and library for dealing with, like, 16-bit velocity values and that stuff. How do you read that? How do you design the curves? All of those codes will start to have to come into kind of modern parlance before and then added to the controller layer of a synth. Because plugins and all of that, they all have massive potential granularity. It's just they're being controlled by 8-bit stuff and original MIDI. So this, I think, it's going to make a big difference, but it's going to take a little while. The Bohm's controller will do it. There was something else that's going to be MIDI. The Sipario. Did anyone see that? The little box that I reviewed some time ago, the Italian guy, which is it's touchscreen with MIDI ins and outs and a USB host mode. He's made a bigger one of those, and it's really good because you can set up splits and zones and program changes and SysX and all kinds of stuff. It now take a MIDI. It'll take a host controller hub, so you can plug in.
What's it called, Nick?
It's called the Lab for Music Sipario. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, Music for Labs. Music for... Music. Lab for Music. Sorry, I got that wrong. Here we go. I can throw this in here. I think I've got it. Let me just drop it on the... Drop it here.
Is already on the
this
market.
Guy.
This is prototype at the moment.
That's interesting.
Same concept.
It's got a touch screen. You can design the interface, and I used it at the heart of my live setup because you can just go bang, next song, and it'll go route this keyboard to this synth, route this keyboard to that synth, route it back to itself, but only on half the keyboard. The lower half could be the bass. It'll send program changes out to everything. That's going to be MIDI 2.0 as well.
Yeah, that looks cool.
Yeah.
That looks awesome, yeah.
It's the sort of thing that you don't think you need until you kind of go, wait, I just want my MIDI patch bay and everything to be sorted. It's kind of like a software MIDI routing thing. They're really cool, and he's a lovely guy as well. What else? Yeah, MIDI 2.0.
So we also had interfaces, didn't we? We've got the SSL interfaces, the Akai Multimedia, Audient, lots of
Evo, the Audient Evo.
Yeah. So they were all cool. They were all interesting and good to see, because particularly a semi-affordable SSL little interface there for your front-end studio app, great. But I didn't see any. I was hoping to see some more USB high-end mixers that allow you to do, USB straight in and out of the computer, 1632 input, I/O over USB, pre or post fader. Most of them are just pre-fader at the minute. I'd really like a kind of modern, contemporary, performative mixer, rather than one of these kind of standalone, set your levels, press record, but something that integrates with people like myself who perform when we're composing, if you like. And I'd like to see something like that on the market. So I had my eye out for something like that. Maybe you guys saw something. I don't know.
I didn't. There's no, I didn't see that. I know, Robbie, because do you have a desk in your setup, or are you?
I don't have anything. No, I've just got 3 Apollos, and everything just goes into those. Yeah, and to use the console front end. No, I used to have desks, but I just love the workflow of just having everything permanently plugged up and piped in and ready to go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I actually do. Speaking of desks, I over the years I've had a love-hate relationship with so many different controllers, like Euphonics, U control ones, and all the Logic control ones and stuff. But I think I probably would like to get the soft tube, the fader pack and their controller. Now it seems to be like a really mature product that seems like really useful, so I probably will get that.
And that will integrate with UA as well. I know. Tori, are you a UA person? I don't know. You've got a desk over there, but what do you use for interfacing your end?
What do we have? No, I'm getting the Apollo the Quad, but I'm trying to think. Yeah, not really.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Actually, that brings up another point, which is the UAD Luna announcement.
That's what I was going to ask about.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, it was, I've got a story about that, because they trailed it. We got the pre-roll, and they very kindly sponsored the show, or one of the sponsors of the show. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me what it was. And then I had a meeting. With what happened is a lot of the people, the UA people. Actually, I've got this somewhere. I think I might have it. Is it this one?
Hey, how you doing, Lau?
Yeah. Here we go.
Today's the big day. We've been having all the mystery of what is Luna, and you've got the kind of, you're dressed like kind of space space guys and gals.
I wanted one of those jackets.
What is Luna?
Yeah.
Now I can actually ask you a question. So what is Luna?
So Luna really is the best way to integrate Apollo into a bigger picture recording, editing, mixing, production, music creation environment. So
DAW,
it's native software
basically.
paired with your Apollo, and inside the software, it's quite a lot of things that we could talk about. You know, if you're
okay, right. So this was the confusion. They were obviously they were being media briefed not to say the word DAW. And the first guy I spoke to didn't mention the word DAW. And every time he flipped a screen, I just saw this DAW, and I thought, oh, that must be a DAW that they've hooked up to Luna. I don't know what it is. So I did a whole video, and I came out of it and not knowing that it was basically a DAW. And then I did another video with Lev where I kind of got it. It's like, okay, so this is the idea is with the Luna is it's a fully functional DAW that integrates directly with the Apollo interface. So it kind of integrates the console. It also integrates the ability to have, they call these Luma, I think they're Luma extensions or Luma, I've forgotten exactly what they're called, but there's like a mini moog, there are virtual instruments as well, which aren't running on the DSP, they're running in native mode, but the integration between the DSP and the native plugins within Luna is way tighter. All the latency compensation, the offloading of the DSP usage and what is very tightly managed and really powerful. So essentially they are launching, and it's free. So it's, if you buy an Apollo interface or a Arrow, you will get it, and that will be free to use. So they're trying to encourage, I guess, a new generation of people to use their DAW tied to their the hardware. Maybe for users, I don't know, such as you, Robbie, who's got legacy, years and years working in Logic or whatever it is you have worked in or work in.
Yeah.
That would be a big ask for you. But for the new generation,
I mean, I didn't. I every time I tried to go to the booth, it was just like packed. I couldn't get near it. So I actually, and I've totally forgotten to look into it. I assumed because it was UA that it was going to be like a very elegant, streamlined, stripped out DAW, if you can use that word, that kind of had a kind of workflow that reminded you of working with tape. So it's kind of the sort of thing that if you're maybe in the past would have bought something like a radar or something as like the bridge between tape and using a computer, this was going to be like a sort of a very sort of classic way of recording with a computer. But I guess it's not that at all.
No, it's not. It's a DAW. I can
because that's what they said to me when I went over there. They said the same thing. They said the same thing. It's not a DAW. It's a recording environment.
Yeah, which is a DAW, but it does MIDI as well. So the whole thing is what's really interesting about it is because incorporating console and your other plugins and latency compensation. So what it allows you to do is to integrate UAD plugins on the DSP and native plugins. They could be VST and AU as well, or at least AU for sure, and it's Mac only at the moment. Within the same channel strip with all of that timing stuff sorted out, and you don't have to worry about making
that's cool.
That's the big.
Yeah, I mean, same as Robbie. I waited in line for. I was like, what am I waiting in line for? Why we don't do lines in NAMM? That's like the rule that we have. But we're like, well, it's like all hidden. I can't even see what is happening. We're like trying to read the signs, and I try to talk to someone over there, and I'm like trying to understand what it is. I'm like, oh, so it's a DAW. Well, no. Well, it is though, and then they refuse to, acknowledge. It was so frustrating, and I forgot to kind of look about it later because I was just so angry by the situation.
It's the message. It's the message. UA are a fantastic company. I think what they've done is, I think what they're trying to do is not tread on any of their existing DAW partners because obviously they work very tightly with Pro Tools and Logic and all of those people, and they don't want to queer that pitch. But ultimately, I mean, that's what they've done. I mean, there's no. So yeah.
But I mean, do you know, in the way that Apogee, for instance, there's some integration for Apogee hardware within Logic. Do you think the kind of stuff that they've kind of done with Luna, we might see them license that out to other companies to allow a more elegant workflow with UAD hardware within established DAWs?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know whether that's the case or not. I mean, I think maybe they're heading towards an API and having tighter control. Sorry, Matt, you wanted to come in there as well.
I was just going to ask if you knew if they were selling those jackets they were wearing.
No, I did get a shot. I got a plastic shot glass. That's the best I could do.
Well, if they're watching
and a patch. You could get the patches.
Did you see?
Oh,
They had guys like at a bar in the back wearing like NASA spacesuits too, like big white. I feel like I saw it. It was aesthetically, it was a very cool presentation.
I'd like the spacesuit.
Yeah, the spacesuit. Okay.
Yeah, if anyone's watching from UA, can you please send us some spacesuits and some jackets and some patches, please? That'd be superb.
Well, we can figure.
It may make mixing a bit hard with the space
well, that's
helmet.
true.
You know.
That'd be cool.
Monitoring, perhaps. Well, in fact, speaking of monitoring, there was some really interesting headphones as well. There was Hedd, who had their now what do they call this? They call it the it's got a really unique name, and it's basically like a full range version of their tweeter, which is like a membrane which it vibrates. So these massive headphones that create for a 10 hertz to 40 kilohertz frequency range. Apparently they sound incredible. I mean, they are quite specialized. I mean, they're $1,800, I think. They're quite expensive. And they're big, but they are supposed to be, very, very good for monitoring. There was a whole bunch of obviously the other headphone technology was the Boss Waza Air, which is the guitar DSP in your headphones. So it's kind of like, this was really cool. So that you plug your guitar into the Waza transmitter, which sends the audio to your headphones over 2.4 gigahertz. There's positional data in your headphones, which means you can have like the amp behind you, and when you move around, it's like the amp's behind you. So you're in the space with your guitar simulator, or you can throw it a whole band. You can throw an MP3 behind you, or you can have it in front of you. You can create these and when you're turning, the orientation of where the amp is in space remains consistent. So it's a very immersive, and I tried it and it was absolutely incredible. And it started getting the team thinking, it's like, well, okay, well, let's have one of those for keyboards, one of those for drums. So everybody wears the same thing. They all move around so you can have a complete Waza Air rehearsal scenario. The only person who gets the short end of the stick is the vocalist, because they actually have to physically make a noise. Waza, yeah, it's.
I keep thinking you're saying Wazuk.
Wazuk. Well. I don't know, but it did sound very good, and it won an award. There's another funny story with that, because our awards are rosettes, because they're the things that we can get in our cases. If we did big acrylic awards, we'd have to have a whole case just to bring them over, and it would cost a bloody fortune. I might look into it, because it does look a bit cheap. And because when we went to Boss, Rebecca, who's one of the marketing people, she said, right, I'm going to go and find the president of Boss, and I was thinking, I can't give him a $1 piece of paper and a rosette and have him kind of seem gracious when he gets the award. It just seems so wrong.
At least laminate the paper.
Do you think I should? But yeah, there was but anyway, that was really cool technology, and I think there's a lot of legs in that, because the Bluetooth of your phone does the control, but the audio goes over. And they had this there's a video of Yngwie Malmsteen, who just looks like a bear crossed with Elvis. And he was playing, and he was going, this is really cool. But all you can hear is the sort of plinky plink of the guitar unamplified. So it's really hard to film a demo, because you need to wear the headphones. There's no line out, which is one thing that maybe they could fix.
Did you get to check out the Barefoot Output collab speakers, which I thought was like an interesting mashup?
Oh, no, what was that?
Them.
Oh.
So Output, which are typically a plugin company, although they have the platform desk, they teamed up with Barefoot to come up with these little speakers. They're like similar to like small focals, or what is it, the Yamaha HS8s or 10s?
Yeah, fields, aren't they? Yeah.
Is that these?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tested them out. It was a little difficult in that space, but at a price point that they were for Barefoots, I was really impressed. They're like $1,400 when they actually hit market for the pair.
6.5. So yeah, $699 each. Okay, pre-order. Yeah, because Output do studio furniture as well, don't they? They've got like they do a desk. Oh,
the platform desk.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, interesting diversification.
Yeah, it's nice. I just think it's interesting to see a plugin company like branching into like other areas like that. I don't know, but I thought it was. I'm curious to see when they come out to actually properly test them.
I didn't see that, unfortunately. I'm afraid I can't testify to that. I'm trying to think. I thought that my memory was coming back, but it seems to have deserted me once again. Any other takers? I mean, some other cool stuff. I'm just trying to think what other cool stuff there was that. It was
cool to see the Zoia effects come to Euro back.
Yeah, the Euro Buro.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that opens up a whole new host of modulation and integration, I suppose, with CV modulation.
I've got a bit of room. How many U is it?
Pretty
How many
big.
spaces?
It's quite
about
big.
The size. Yeah. It's about the size of the actual. It's about the footprint of the actual pedal as it stands.
I vowed I
Maybe
wouldn't
it's
get
slightly
another.
bigger.
Oh, wow.
You'd have to get another case, Robbie.
I vowed I wouldn't get another case.
Well, sometimes you just...
dear.
did anyone... we also saw the AMS Neve RMS 16, and which really does look good and sounded lovely, even to the point where they've emulated, because that you can't buy the same digital IOs in them anymore. They've modelled the crapness of the original so that the higher quality ones they've put in there can sound like the... and it did sound really nice, but you need a lunchbox system to put it in because it's only System 500, which is kind of a shame. So it's
They've got
1200.
their own one though, haven't they? They were showing their own kind of rack thing where you could get a couple in together. So with a controller unit. So it looks like you could probably buy a self-contained one.
Okay, but it's 1200 for the base thing. Just going back to the Zoia, I remember I was watching the video on that, and the thing that's cool about the Zoia, I mean, normally it's self-contained, but also a lot of those modules will work as CV processing, so you can have them as controllers that will output envelopes and LFOs and modify incoming CV and spit out other stuff. That was kind of cool.
Very interesting.
And a mention for the Krotos Audio Concept, which probably hasn't got the most appealing UI, but the stuff that you can do with, because it's all modulation based and it's just drag and drop, you can bring in audio inputs as modulation sources. So you can modulate the decay with a sidechain from another channel in the DAW or a live input, and get these really interesting audio rate and amplitude rate stuff, which I must say, I hadn't heard anything quite like it. I would check out the demo, and I think they've got some stuff on
Audio, what was it?
Concept. I'm just going to see if I can find the Krotos Audio Concept. Let's see if I can... Krotos Audio... Kortos, that's not what I was trying to say. Krotos Audio Concept. Let's see if I can find it. It's this thing. And I have to say... it's 99 bucks at the moment. It's
cheap.
It's not expensive, no. I mean, I think perhaps the GUI could be revisited a little bit.
I hate white GUIs.
Well, at least it's not wood.
Oh, yes, at least it's not wood.
I'm just trying to find. There's some very interesting stuff going on there, and I've not seen that audio rate inputs being kind of utilised that much. In fact, we gave them the best plugin award because I thought it was one of the more interesting things that I saw there, or certainly heard.
What company is that again?
Krotos Audio. Well, their other technology is really interesting. So what they do is they make plugins for post-production, for spot effects, for Foley. And what you do is you watch the picture, and if there's somebody walking along, you just record a track on your door going for footstep points. And then you run it through their system, and it randomizes from a whole big collection of footsteps. And so it's a bit like that kind of Unity engine.
Vocalize.
But no, it's not Vocalize, and it turns your overdub of Foley into samples that are triggering. So footsteps would be triggered from your audio input that you were watching. So if you're watching somebody doing a sword fight, you'd be going, oh, ching chong, and then it would map those sounds to sort of swords, which you could then design and add a certain amount of ring or whatever. It's really clever, actually. So they're very smart cookies. But it's just this is their first instrument, so it's kind of very different. Goodness.
Did you do a award for the kind of strangest looking thing at NAMM by any chance? Because I think the joystick.
Doefper joystick.
That deserves that medal, if anything. I mean, it's really cool. At first, I was like, what? But so you've got this joystick basically, and I think it's got a push button. It's got left, right, up, down, and it sort of flicks back into position, and you just use it for sending modulation around.
You know what? I think I've got. This thing it's quite erotic.
Look at the size of it.
Oh my!
That's the module.
Yeah, well, check that out.
That's the module.
I did not see
You had
that
to dong it, didn't you? Oh.
Yeah. So, and I think it's what it is a joystick for controlling. It's what you use in TV studios to record, to control remote cameras. So you have the twist and the pan and the zoom and the tilt. So it's a number of axes. Yeah, I don't know.
To be that big?
Well, it uses a part that already exists in the world. So I mean, I guess that's why it is that big. But I think you might have trouble fitting at your case lid over that. I don't know.
Yeah, I won't be able to get that closed. Definitely.
No, you would. Imagine if you had a bank of them. It would be.
I mean, I already get a weird look when I go through airports with this thing, and I have to take the lid off. And you can imagine it with that sticking out as well. Like, what is it?
I think maybe they should make it in the in different colours.
Oh, yeah. I tell you what I saw, which I had techno lust for, which is a real ergonomic thing. But the Virgo in me was impressed by it. Was when BT and Richard Devine did a presentation for Korg on the 2600s. They had like 3 of them, but Richard had this amazing, I had never seen it, the IntelliGel case for his Euro rack that's got all like everything built in, like the MIDI and the ins and outs. And I immediately was like, oh, I want that, because it's like just such an elegant solution for Euro rack stuff.
That performance case, is that it? I'm just looking at it.
Yes, it's really nice. It's the best. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then it's got the ins and outs across the top. You've got on the back all the ins and outs and your USB and everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely.
I have to say, if you've not seen the Nifty Case people, which was that really cheap UK based thing, they do a rack for, and they've got audio I/O and USB and MIDI I/O built into it as well, and they're like $299. I mean, it's a different thing. It's not quite the same sort of robustness and roadworthy side of it, but it's way cheaper. And if you're not going to be
Nifty Cases did you say?
Nifty Cases, yeah.
Write that down as well. I'm learning lots today.
Nifty Case. I did a Create Audio. It is. So this thing, I don't know if I can make that any bigger or not. So you get
Create with an 8.
Create Audio, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's right.
A little screenshot.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So yeah, excuse me. So yeah, I mean, there's so much that we missed. I mean, bizarrely, I was trying, because I just finished the Moog 1 review before the Argon 8 review, and I was trying to hook up myself with Moog so I could see the bloody sub 25. And they just didn't seem to be able to happen because they didn't have anyone on site with it. They had a special sales room that nobody could get into, and it just didn't happen, which is a real shame. But that was something I'd like to have seen.
It's a shame when it's a shame that seems to be a few people doing that now, taking things out and making those things sort of exclusive, and just like you've got
exclusive
to come into this
RE cheap. Well, it's also you could probably hire a studio off-site or somewhere nice off-site for less than it costs you to have a table.
Okay.
I think that's part.
Yeah,
of it.
they do a little party now, which I was not invited to this year, and I was a little upset about that. But I think it's because my husband wore a DX7 shirt to the Moog 1 launch last year, and there's photos of him playing a Moog 1 wearing it, and I was like, I feel like that's why we weren't invited back.
They wouldn't be so petty, I'm sure. But yeah, Moog 1 won the Tech Award for the I think it was best whatever, something. I'm not sure what it was. Which I think it's interesting, because given my feelings on the state of the firmware, I thought that was perhaps a little premature. But hey ho, there you go.
I think my sentiments echo yours.
Yeah. But I was really nice to see Amos there. Actually, Amos, we bumped into him when we were doing the awards, because he was on the stand. He's the head of the standards committee for the MIDI 2.0, so he received the rosette of. On behalf of the entire MIDI 2.0 industry, which I felt was oh god, we didn't even mention the Arturia Keystep Pro, did we?
Oh yeah,
Keystep Pro.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
They're smashing it with that. I think that's really cool.
Brilliant.
Oh, I know. I got the Pro 3. God, I mean, this is Jim, Jim's demo.
I played the Pro 3.
This sounds lovely.
I didn't get to play on this. I wish I had.
Yeah, I would like to have one.
Yeah, well, I did a video with Dave Smith, and they won the best monosynth. Like, clearly, it was hands down, and it was that was kind of nice. But yeah, the Arturia Keystep. Sorry,
I was just going to say it's strange to me because it didn't look like a sequential instrument. It just looked like some totally new type of design. Which I mean, I'm not averse to it. It's just I like it when
you like continuity.
I like continuity when companies carry aesthetics through, and it just seemed like a totally different departure. Perhaps it's starting with a new thing.
Well, they had the regular one, and then the S that had the wood sides. So they had the two versions, and I thought the other one looked pretty in line. It was the wood one that looked vastly different.
I guess it's the knobs and all that kind of thing. It's all a very different modern kind of look. Kind of a slick look compared to the kind of other stuff. But it's great. It sounds phenomenally good.
It does sound good, yeah. And Dave was very, very pleased with it, I think. And so it's got switchable analog filter types. I think it's got an OB6 filter, a ladder filter with resonance bass loss compensation. Hooray! That should be mandatory in all ladder filters, I think. And is it a SEM 2-pole? I can't remember now. And a bunch of different oscillator types. It looks very interesting. What was the other thing? The Keystep Pro. That looks good. Although I still can't figure out what's going on with the... let's see if I got it here. Yeah, I can't figure out... Because basically, it's only got 5 knobs, whereas the Beatstep Pro had 16, which is kind of what makes it kind of particularly useful in many ways. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. You have the Beatstep, the Pro or the?
Well, I have a Beatstep Pro.
Yeah.
The Pro. We have the other one as well, but I have the Pro. I'm probably going to get a second one because we have 2 separate rack cases, one upstairs and one downstairs. And that was exactly my feeling. I miss the knobs, and B, I'm not sure that I need that keyboard. In theory, it felt like a cool thing, but when I actually messed around with it, it didn't seem as useful to me as the Beatstep Pro. But that's for my personal use, so I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of almost like the Beatstep Pro and a keyboard, and the Keystep would be more that I don't know. I didn't shoot the video, so I don't know exactly what it offers in terms of having the 2 separate units, whether it's got some extra features, but we'll have to check that out. My goodness, the Nektar Aura, was it Aura?
Oh yeah, that's good.
Did you see
that?
The
pad controller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went and saw that. Rolf gave me a good demo of that.
Yeah, so that was a 16-pad controller with the same sort of approach as the Nektar P4. So it runs Nectarine, and you can run a plug-in per pad. So you can build these very complex kits and have a parameter access. And it's also got an onboard sequencer that runs in standalone mode. So you could use it for a little simple drum sequencer with, something that without having the computer attached. I think it's hard to compete with MPCs and that stuff. In fact, we didn't even mention the MPC 1. Did anyone see that? That was pretty cool. The MPC 1, which is a standalone, the new little MPC 1, which has I'm going to have to find a picture of it, which has, it kind of takes the X and the Live and mashes them together, removes the battery, makes it the same form factor, but also adds the CV and gate. So you get an MPC 1, an MPC Live, but with CV and gate and without the batteries is kind of the gist of it. What else? Oh yeah, anyone see the demo we did of the Akai Force with that guy Nick Trakakis? He was really shit hot. I have to see if I can find it.
I'm good.
Akai. I'm sure you've probably got other places to be, but I might have to. Yeah, let's see if I can get this in here. So he was doing some amazing.
There's bass right here. I'll start playing that now.
What he was doing there was some really interesting stuff with obviously zoning the pads on the Force, but using note repeat on all of them, but triggering them singly, and then also holding down to get additional repeats. It was really clever actually, and he got some. And then by adding delays to certain instruments, you got all these kind of double times. It was really, really cool. Very interesting way of using it. That was probably my most favourite demo, and he was really passionate about it. And he looked very cool. He looked a bit like, I thought he was kind of like a version of Luke Perry. I don't know. What do you think, Tori? Am I off the mark there, or is it about? I'm asking you to look at this on your tiny little phone. Yeah, that's him.
He looks
yeah.
like young Luke Perry vibes. Why not?
Yeah, okay.
Luke Perry, all right.
He definitely got the best hair award anyway of all the presenters. Gosh,
was Gaz? Did you see? Was Gaz's brother Cuckoo around? I didn't see him at the show.
Yes, he was. I did see him briefly. He was filming some stuff there.
All right.
I mean, a lot. I mean, it's as you say, Matt. The thing about it is meeting all the people and having the human contact and having fun. We had a lot of fun on Saturday night, and that was great. I didn't get to see Jamie. Jamie Liddell was on the UA stand, and we've tried to hook up, but once NAMM starts, I'm so unavailable. It sort of gets a bit depressing sometimes. One of these days, I'll be able to just swan about and kind of point people in the direction of stuff, and just be kind of spend my whole time yammering with chatting with people. Thank you, folks. It's been great to have you on. I want to say again, thank you so much to the team who made it NAMM go so smoothly. It all went very peachy. Also, thank you very much to our sponsors, various advertisers and whatnot. It all helps us do the best we can from the show. And the next one is going to be Super Booth. In fact, I booked the hotel today. That's how quick it goes. But anyway, thank you, everybody. Robbie, thanks for joining us. What are you on to next? Have you got stuff in the pipeline?
I've got a deal making an EP, solo EP. So I'm headlong into that for the next 2 months.
Are you singing?
So yeah, I've got guest people coming onto it. I could sing, but I've got some guests coming on. Yeah, cool. So it's full on. That's why it's like 6 synths have moved in, because also Artura sorted me out a micro freak finally as well. So I've got my studio has just turned into a synth den.
Well, there are worse things that can happen. Yeah. That sounds great. Well, lovely to hear that, Rob. Yeah. And Matt, so also. Oh, sorry. So you're going to be doing that?
So that's it. So I'm just going to be. I'm going to be rolling out of bed and rolling into the studio and playing with step sequences for days on end.
Excellent. Old school. Lovely to hear that, Robbie. Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah. Also, Matt, thanks for joining us too. Are you still in the reverent? Are you reverent, or have you moved out of that space now?
Yeah, I'm still here in the church. And I'm currently putting together some finishing stuff for my students tomorrow. I'm going to introduce some students into performing live with computers and how to integrate this sort of stuff, CVs, MIDI, audio, that kind of thing. Speaking of Super Booth, I'm going to be playing there again this year. So I actually booked a hotel today for that. And I'm also doing a presentation and a performance this year at 7th Wave Festival in the UK. Excellent. As well. So just putting all that together, all that live set, and finishing off some new music as well.
So into a new year. Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. Excellent. And Tori, you'll have to come over to Super Booth, right? You are coming this year, of course, right?
I thought I was. I don't know that I am. That's a question for Yamaha. But
I'll lobby for you.
Please do. No, I definitely want to get over there at some point, but this year may not be my year, unfortunately.
But you just finished a whole bunch because when we talked to you, you were working right through Christmas to do your cues for your film. Is that all finished now, or you've still got some snagging to do?
Yeah, I wrapped that movie. I worked on Christmas Day. That one's done. And then I just 2 days ago, a short that I scored for Disney came out on Disney Plus. So that's available. It's called Fetch. It's super adorable. I would love for everyone to go stream it. And then next month, my side electronic project called Tiny Cat is officially launching into the world. The first single is going to come out as a collab with an artist that I'm a big fan of. So keep eyes peeled for that. And
excellent.
Yeah.
So busy. And as it started, I must ask you one thing. I was very, very disappointed with the weather in California this year. Has it got any better?
Yeah. Is it going to be better?
Has it got better? Are you at least you're having some weather, right?
It's been really cold. I don't know. I'm from the East Coast, so I actually kind of like when it's gloomy. Because I don't really love when it's super sunny all the time. I like it being kind of dreary, but it's been like 40 degrees, which I'm not stoked on. Sorry about that.
Oh, man, I missed it.
You have to come back.
Well, one day maybe I will. It's a
more
hard
than just
sell.
during NAMM.
Yeah, I maybe so if there's a good reason. Well, I guess there's always Simplex, but Yeah, I know Matt is. Matt was very enamoured by the whole LA experience. So yeah, and I know Gaz has been having a lot of fun, and he's back.
He's just come back. Yeah.
Well,
he's just.
Everyone's welcome here. So.
Well, thank you very much.
I even went to the places where Back to the Future was filmed. I went to Marty McFly's house, man.
Whoa!
That's how nerdy I am. Yeah.
I went to see the DeLorean at the Peterson Museum.
Whoa!
The original DeLorean.
Yeah.
And the Blade Runner.
I'm sensing a theme.
Yeah. Okay.
Blade Runner vehicles were there. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Wicked. Yeah, Robbie, we need to do some geek out, exploring the world and visiting the iconic movie greats, locations and props.
Oh, I know. One thing I was going to say, forgot to say it. You know, when you mentioned about the AMX and you said about them modelling the crappy outputs from the past.
Yeah.
It reminded me that when Stephen Hawking's voice box broke a few years ago, when they gave him his replacement, he wasn't happy with it because the voice was too good. So they had to go back and remodel the crappy voice that he was known for.
Yeah, I suppose so. It was his thing, wasn't it? It makes total sense.
Go.
It's the brand, isn't it?
There you go.
It's the brand.
There
anyway, thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure having you on. We've had a lovely time. Oh, yeah, don't forget if you want to, I'll quickly do this now. If you want to enter the iZotope competition, we're looking for the hashtag Full Power Mixes, the hashtag Ozone9 to @Sonicstate and @iZotope Inc. That's a Twitter competition. You can win a copy of Ozone 9 Advance. That's it for this time. I will bring up the celebrity squares so we can all wave ourselves off into the sunset. So thanks, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.